Mental retardation is an intellectual disability, once called mental retardation, is characterized by below average intelligence or mental ability and a lack of skills necessary for day-to-day living. People with this disability can and do learn new skills, but they have to learn them more slowly. There are varying degrees of intellectual disability from mild to profound.
Hold on a second.
Good.
One more thing. Okay.
What is it? Intellectual functioning, also known as IQ. This refers to a person's ability to learn, reason, make decisions, and solve problems. Adaptive behaviors. These are necessary skills for day-to-day life, such as being able to communicate effectively, interact with others, and take care of oneself. Average IQ scores. The intelligence quotient is measured by an IQ test. The average IQ is 100, with the majority of people scoring between 85 and 115. But a person is considered intellectually disabled if he or she has an IQ of less than 70 to 75. Signs of the disability. Signs may appear during infancy, or they may not be noticeable until a child reaches school age. It is often depends on the severity of the disability. Signs. Rolling over, sitting up, crawling or waking late, talking or having trouble with talking, slow to master things like potty training, dressing and feeding himself or herself, difficulty to remember things, and that inability to connect actions with consequences, behavior problems such as explosive tantrums, and difficulty with problem solving and logical thinking. What causes this? Anytime something interferes with a normal brain development, intellectual disability can resolve. However, a specific cause for intellectual disability can only be pinpointed by a third of the time. The most common causes of the intellectual disability are genetic conditions like Down syndrome and Fragile X syndrome, problems during pregnancy like fetal brain development, alcohol or drug use, malnutrition, certain infections, or I don't know how to say that, preeclampsia. Yeah.
Preeclampsia.
Preeclampsia. Why is my slide not up?
Click it again.
Or it must just been a blank one. I think it's just a blank one. I think that was the last one. Yep.
Don't turn that in.
Don't. I don't need no money. When I'm on the money.
Okay, does anybody know, during the 1930s, since that's when the story takes place, how were people with mental disabilities
They put them in like asylums.
treated?
Put them in like asylums, didn't they?
They were treated like hogs.
Seen as crazy, like.
Okay, instead of being recognized as an illness or a sickness, it was treated as a problem that no one knew how to handle. And so oftentimes people with mental
retardation,
with intellectual disabilities were locked up in asylums, hospitals, or second option, euthanized once the disability became too much to handle. What does euthanize mean?
Killed.
Killed. Like what you do to your dog when it's too old to live any longer. That's what they did to humans. Some parents, like for instance, if a child was born with, say, Down syndrome, something that you recognize immediately, the parents would just go drown it out in the stock tank. So, couple things. It sounds horrible, although none of your facial expressions are reflecting the horror that it was. One problem was there were no people who knew how to deal with the problems.
Nobody wanted to deal with it.
And also people who, imagine if you are Little House on the Prairie you would struggle to find the time to provide that kid with the
care that it needs
because you're too busy
working.
And I know that sounds terrible, and I'm not excusing it, but the truth is they just simply didn't know. Well, okay, so did they care? This is kind of hot topic.
No.
Did they care?
No.
Let's say
If they killed them, why would they wouldn't care if they killed them.
Let's say you have 7 other children between the ages of 10 and 1.
That's their fault.
And you live in a 1-bedroom shack on the Nebraska plains. And this kid is born in October.
Maybe they shouldn't have pooped out so many babies.
Yeah.
But why did families have so many babies?
They're stupid.
They need workers.
They need workers. They need ways to populate the states. How many children did a family? What percentage of children did parents lose before the age of 5? Do you think?
Like 20%.
Probably about 20-30%, depending especially on when the child was born. A baby that's born in
November,
the winter, late fall and winter, has a much more difficult chance of surviving. So people had a lot of babies because you needed to be pregnant all the time, because at any point you might lose one of your children, and you need your children to help you plow the earth. And I mean, I don't know, most of the people that are alive today could not survive in that world.
They're wussies.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I'm talking about going out and picking corn by hand, bringing it into the yard, shucking it, cutting off the corn, laying it out in the sun to dry, and then beating it with a rock so that you can make cornmeal for flour. How many of us, I'm talking about walking 3-4 miles with pails, little pails, not 5-gallon buckets, little pails of water, 2 at a time, over the whole day. That's all you do is walk back and forth to fill buckets of water. How many of you could do that?
It sucks, but I feel like you have to. Yeah, if you have to do it, it's done.
Yeah, well, this is why they need so
Kids
many
nowadays
kids.
had choices. Back then, they didn't have a choice. They had to listen to their parents, so they got beat.
Kids have their parents.
Okay, you can stop it.